There's something I need you to understand about the way I arrived at this moment. I didn't stumble into clarity about us. I walked toward it slowly, deliberately, through seasons of questioning myself, understanding what I truly want, and recognizing what I'm actually ready to give. This isn't about romantic impulse. This is about conscious readiness, and readiness doesn't announce itself loudly. It settles in quietly, the way truth does when you finally stop running from it. I've spent years thinking I understood what it meant to love someone. I thought love was about the intensity of feeling, the rush of emotion, the dramatic declarations that make your heart race. I confused excitement with depth. I confused chemistry with compatibility. I confused the urge to possess with the capacity to partner. And those confusions cost me. They cost me relationships that could have been beautiful if I had been ready. They cost me trust that I didn't know how to protect. They cost me parts of myself I gave away before I understood their value. But something shifted in me before I ever met you. Something fundamental and irreversible. I started asking myself different questions. Not does this feel good, but is this good for me? Not am I attracted, but am I aligned? Not can I get this person to choose me, but am I choosing myself first? Those questions changed everything. They changed how I moved through the world. They changed what I allowed into my life. They changed who I was becoming. I realized I had been approaching love from a place of incompleteness, looking for someone to fill spaces I hadn't yet learned to fill myself, looking for validation I hadn't yet learned to give myself, looking for peace I hadn't yet learned to create within myself. And that approach was never going to work. You cannot build lasting love from a foundation of need. Need is unstable. Need is demanding. Need turns love into a transaction instead of a choice. I didn't want that anymore. I wanted something real, and real meant I had to become whole first. So I did the work. Not the performative kind that looks good on the surface. The deep kind, the uncomfortable kind. The kind that requires you to sit with parts of yourself you've been avoiding for years. I examined my patterns. I looked at how I handled conflict. I noticed how I responded when I felt vulnerable. I paid attention to the ways I self-sabotaged. I acknowledged the ways I had hurt people without meaning to. I stopped defending my intentions and started examining my impact. That work was lonely. It was slow. It didn't come with applause or recognition, but it changed me at the core. I learned how to regulate my emotions instead of letting them regulate me. I learned how to sit with discomfort without needing to eliminate it immediately. I learned how to communicate clearly instead of expecting people to read my mind. I learned how to take responsibility for my feelings instead of blaming others for triggering them. I learned how to ask for what I need without weaponizing my needs. I learned how to give space without creating distance. I learned how to stay present even when every instinct told me to shut down. Those skills didn't come naturally. They came from repetition, from failure, from commitment to becoming someone I could respect. I started understanding that the quality of my relationships would never exceed the quality of my relationship with myself. If I didn't trust myself, I wouldn't trust others. If I didn't respect myself, I wouldn't command respect. If I didn't know my own boundaries, I would resent others for crossing lines I never drew. If I didn't love myself with patience, I would demand perfection from everyone else. That realization was both humbling and liberating. Humbling because it meant I was responsible for so much of what I had experienced. Liberating because it meant I had the power to change it. I became more intentional about everything. And how I spent my time, who I spent it with, what I allowed to drain my energy, what I protected. I stopped saying yes to things that didn't align with my values just to keep peace. I stopped performing versions of myself to be liked. I stopped shrinking to make others comfortable. I stopped abandoning my needs to avoid disappointing people. I started honoring myself the way I wanted to honor a partner someday. And honoring myself made me someone worth partnering with. I learned what it meant to be alone without being lonely. To sit in my own company without needing distraction. To build a life I genuinely enjoyed living, not one I was just tolerating until someone came along to make it better. I created routines that grounded me. I built friendships that nourished me. I pursued interests that made me feel alive. I cultivated peace that didn't depend on external validation. And in that peace, I found clarity. Clarity about what I wanted. Clarity about what I wouldn't accept. And clarity about the kind of love I was ready to build. Then you appeared. Not when I was searching. Not when I was desperate. Not when I was trying to fill a void. You appeared when I was whole. And that timing mattered more than anything else. Because I didn't need you. I chose you. There's a profound difference between those two things. Needing creates pressure. Choosing creates freedom. Needing turns love into survival. Choosing turns love into partnership. I noticed you in ways I hadn't noticed people before. Not just how you looked, though I'd be lying if I said that didn't matter. But more than that, I noticed how you moved through the world, how you didn't perform for attention. But yeah, how you listened more than you spoke, how you set boundaries without apology, how you remained calm in situations that would make others reactive, how you seemed grounded in yourself, not looking for someone else to complete you. I recognized something in you that mirrored something in me, not sameness, alignment, and I paid attention to how my body responded to you. Not just attraction, though that existed, but something deeper. My nervous system calmed around you. My breathing slowed, my shoulders dropped. My thoughts quieted. I felt safe in a way I hadn't felt safe in years. Not because you were trying to make me feel safe, because your presence was inherently grounding. Bodies don't lie. My body trusted you before my mind even caught up to why. I noticed how naturally my attention moved toward you, Ani. Not obsessively, naturally, like water finding its level. I thought about you when I wasn't trying to. I wondered what you'd think about things. I wanted to share moments with you. I imagined building something with you. But none of it felt urgent or desperate. It felt calm. It felt inevitable in the best way, like something that was always supposed to happen once both of us were ready. I started seeing you not as someone to impress, but as someone I wanted to know deeply. I wanted to understand what made you feel safe and what made you withdraw. I wanted to know what brought you joy and what caused you pain. I wanted to learn your rhythms, your patterns, your language, not to control them, to honor them. I wanted to be someone you felt seen by, someone you didn't have to explain yourself to constantly, someone who made space for all of you, not just the easy parts. And I realized something crucial. I wasn't trying to become someone worthy of you. I had already become that person. The work I had done on myself wasn't about you. It was about me, but it prepared me for you. It made me ready to love you in ways I wouldn't have been capable of before. It made me someone who could hold space for your complexity without needing to simplify you. Someone who could stay present during conflict without running. Someone who could take responsibility without defensiveness. Someone who could grow alongside you without resentment. I thought about what kind of partner I wanted to be. Not theoretically, practically. I wanted to be someone whose words matched their actions. Someone who communicated clearly instead of expecting you to guess. Someone who repaired quickly instead of holding grudges. Someone who chose patience over urgency. Someone who protected your peace as carefully as I protected my own. Someone who showed up consistently, not just when it was convenient. Someone who loved you with steadiness, not just intensity. I understood that the early stages of love are easy. Chemistry does the heavy lifting. Novelty keeps things exciting. Everything feels effortless because nothing has been tested yet. But I wasn't interested in a love that only survived the easy parts. I wanted a love that deepened through difficulty. A love that became stronger because we learned how to navigate hard things together. A love built on skills, not just feelings. And I knew I had those skills now. I had built them deliberately over years of personal work. I started imagining our future, not in fantasy, in reality. I imagined mornings where we moved around each other with familiar ease. I imagined evenings where silence felt comfortable instead of awkward. I imagined disagreements that didn't threaten our foundation. I imagined stress that brought us closer instead of pulling us apart. I imagined growth that we supported in each other instead of resented. I imagined a life that wasn't perfect but was deeply intentional. That vision didn't scare me. It grounded me. Thought about the promises I wanted to make to you. Not the romantic ones that sound beautiful but lack substance. The real ones. The ones that matter in daily life. I promise to listen even when I disagree. I promise to stay present even when I'm uncomfortable. I promise to take responsibility even when it's hard. I promise to choose repair over pride. I promise to communicate clearly even when I'm unsure. I promise to respect your boundaries even when they inconvenience me. I promise to remain curious about you even when I think I know everything. I promise to protect what we build with the same care I used to build myself. Those promises felt more sacred to me than any vow could. Then I realized that choosing you meant choosing a certain kind of life. A life where honesty mattered more than comfort, where patience mattered more than speed, where consistency mattered more than intensity, where safety mattered more than excitement, where depth mattered more than drama. That life didn't look impressive from the outside, it looked quiet. But quiet is where real love lives. Quiet is where trust grows. Quiet is where partnership deepens into something unshakable. I became aware of how differently I approached you compared to past relationships. I wasn't trying to convince you of anything. I wasn't performing to win you over. I wasn't hiding parts of myself to seem more appealing. I wasn't rushing to secure your commitment before you saw my flaws. I was simply being myself, fully, honestly, and trusting that if we were meant to build something together, it would become clear to both of us without force. That trust came from my own sense of wholeness. I knew I would be okay, regardless of your answer. But I also knew I wanted to build something with you. Both things could be true. I noticed how my definition of love had matured. Love wasn't about finding someone who made me feel complete. It was about finding someone I wanted to grow beside while remaining complete within myself. Love wasn't about intensity that demanded constant attention. It was about steadiness that sustained through ordinary days. Love wasn't about merging until we lost ourselves. It was about maintaining our individuality while building something shared. Love wasn't about never struggling. It was about choosing to struggle together with respect and care. I thought about the kind of woman you are. Strong but not hardened. Open but not naive. Independent but not isolated. It was natural, it was organic, it was real. So when I ask you to say yes, I'm not asking you to save me, complete me, or fix me. I'm asking you to build with me, to grow with me, to face life beside me, to create something intentional with me, to love me on the hard days and let me love you on yours, to trust the work I've done and continue doing, to believe that I'm ready not because I'm perfect, but because I'm committed to showing up fully, honestly, and consistently for the rest of my life. My future wife, you're not the reason I became whole, but you're the reason I'm grateful I did. You're not the missing piece. You're the beautiful addition to an already complete life. You're not my savior. You're my partner. And partnership built between two whole people is the strongest foundation love can have. So, this is me standing before you not as someone who needs you, but as someone who chooses you with clarity, with intention, with readiness, with a future in mind that honors both of us fully. We say yes.